It is indeed Monday. Back to work after what has been a rather kind of crazy sports weekend going on.
Why, what happened?
Well, there's big baseball news. There's one NHL trade, but we'll probably get into that a little later with the Colorado Avalanche.
The Bills stink.
Excellent
I'm
football
kidding,
game.
I'm
Bunch
kidding.
of great college football games on Saturday.
But to lead off our show, maybe one of the greatest spectacles I've seen in a long, long time on the internet was a Junior A massive brawl on the ice during a teddy bear toss. And I'm like, what am I seeing here? I'm watching guys wrestle and punch each other besides stuffed animals. It can't get any goofier than that.
Was it Barry in Ottawa?
67s and the Colts going at it. You know, I went to a lot when I was a kid. I was a junior hockey guy, season ticket holder for the first 20 years of my life. I can only imagine some of the stuff I've seen at junior hockey games, and that brought me back to my youth. Guys just scrapping. I'm like, the OHL's dead. It's not what it used to be. And then you see guys brawling during a teddy bear toss. Like, we're back. The OHL is back, baby.
It is great. It's a great video.
Well, we're glad you're along for the ride for the next 2 hours, including our Leaf Hour edition that's starting right now. We are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and in for Jen Rolnick, Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank. I don't think. Is Frank the Tank
I
there?
just saw Frank the Tank.
Oh.
He said, I'm working your show.
Okay,
We should eliminate this portion
It's
of the lineup.
okay.
It's always a
It's
wild
all
card.
right.
Listen, there's a new person every day. So
true.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. I'm going to read this off your
please
lineup.
Don't, please don't.
No,
okay,
I
but
am.
why are you going to bury me? Like,
I'm not going to bury you.
I
I'm
guess
not
you're
burying
about to bury me.
No, I'm not, because I think
you're
this is my doing. I'm
You're going to bury me.
I'm not reading this correctly.
You're going to bury me.
Okay.
Toronto
bury
Maple
me.
Leafs lose both halves of a back-to-back
didn't
on
reread it.
Friday and Saturday night. Friday 2-1 to the Washington Capitals, and Pittsburgh 3-2 on Saturday.
Yeah? What's wrong with that? How bad is that?
Wasn't the scores, is that the scores or the record of the weekend or something else differently? So
is that
what was the score? What was the score Friday?
5-2 on 2-1 on 3. I don't even know what the hell the score is.
5-2 on Saturday.
5-2 on Saturday.
Nailed it, yeah.
And Friday was what?
Was there an empty netter on Friday?
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 on average. Yeah. So you are going to bury me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you are correct. Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
but listen,
I turned off the TV after when they go up by 1. I just.
If I had the choice between starting the show with nothing, or having your lineup, which is
you'd pick nothing,
inaccurate, I'll
pick nothing.
Inaccuracy.
You'd pick nothing.
Listen, I get it. You're rattled because your Blue Jays.
I didn't even listen.
Blue Jays lost Soto.
Yeah,
which is a great restaurant in Yorkville.
I mean, you'd have to be the biggest idiot to ever think that he was actually going to come here.
So, lesson learned over a year ago with Ohtani on a plane.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
So you thought they got played right from the get-go?
I never for a second thought that they were.
Did anyone else think that?
I don't think
the Jays
so.
could get him? It was real money. Rogers offered him real money,
of course.
Which is, at the end of the day, it's a good sign.
15 years, $765 million money.
And there was people reporting that the Jays would make the highest offer,
or no deferred money, right? That's what the thing was. Like, it's like just straight cash, no deferred money from Steve Cohen and the Mets, and he's just very rich, and it's very hard to come back from that. You just can't compete with a guy who spends $150 million on statues.
But even if they made the same offer, he's picking the Mets. I mean,
maybe if they offered $5 million more, like they did over the Yankees. But listen.
So, in speaking of that, I got a taste, a short stint in New York City to understand the dynamics of that sports market. I won a championship there, so I've seen it at its best. I can't imagine the pain right now for Yankee fans knowing that they got outbid by the Mets.
I love the Mets. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Good for them.
Let me play the violin for the Yankees fans. Oh, those poor guys, they never get anything.
It would have been fine if he went to L.A. or even if he went to Toronto, but to watch him go down the street to the Mets right now, I can't think of anything that's happened to the or New York City fans quite like that.
Yeah, it's a tough one for them.
That's
for sure.
fun that he's not in
that's
the
a kick
AL
in the
East
guts.
at least. At least he's in the
Yeah,
National League.
Yeah, like I got to tell you, the ideal scenario, because the ideal scenario clearly is him coming to the Jays, but that was never going to happen. The ideal scenario was him going to the other league. Like the Yankees are way worse.
It was only for like the gap was only like $5 million.
Yep.
They had an extra year,
Yep.
but it's still not that big of a difference.
It's $5 million more.
I mean, $50 million another year on. I think their offer was $16 million over that.
But there's one thing with like there's an opt out after the 5th year, and then if he opts back in, he makes more at that point. Like he can get up to $800 million with the Mets.
At
Obviously,
that point, you're post money. You're
Yeah.
not even someone
So-
who worries or thinks about
the
money.
the
so
real
whatever.
the real scary part for me is not the Soto thing; it's the Vladdy thing. And I mean, I don't want to do too many Jays takes here. People don't care about it, but you see Vladdy watching him get
Double the
that
salary.
massive that contract, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I want to try that. I'd like to try that a lot. That looks fun, getting all that money." And he's a free agent at the end of this year. Why would he sign with the
Do you think
Jays?
there's a chance he signs at all?
Oh, yeah. He's
Here?
going to stay with the Jays.
Yeah,
Sign
for
him-
sure.
sign him for 400
Totally not worried
Off we
about,
go.
the guy that has all the leverage in the world and is going to make $500 million. Not worried about that at all.
Okay. Back to our
Regular.
scheduled
Yes.
programming
here.
Back to that 5-2, 3-2 win on Saturday night.
Back to the 3-1, 5-2,
Yeah.
back-to-back losses. JB, we'll start with you and just your thoughts of where do you want to focus? You want to focus on Friday before Saturday, or you want to kind of just give us an overall look?
I guess just I'll zoom out on overall and say anytime you take 2 losses, some things went wrong. And what seems to be going wrong for me right now is they still struggle to generate 5-on-5 and really to control the play at 5-on-5. I know when prior to Matthews' injury, they're like a top 10 team at controlling play. Once he goes out, they're the worst team in the league or second last team in the league. And since he's come back, they're no better. They're still a very bottom team at controlling play. And I think it's concerning anytime you're getting 40% of the scoring chances in these games. Goalies have been good and they've hung around. They're good defensively. Lots is going right. But the concern is they can't score. They're not controlling the game, Skip.
You just start looking at the numbers here, and Nick Robertson, 2 goals, 23 games, no assists.
I know.
Ryan Reeves, 19 games, no goals. Grebenkin, I get it, 7 no points, 7
Domi.
games, no points. Dewar, 11, no points.
No points. No points.
No points.
No good.
Right? Alex Nylander, 5 games. This guy comes up with a reputation of ripping it up in the American Hockey League.
Yeah.
It's seen power play time.
Yeah. No chance.
Played with your best players, including your brother. No points.
Holmberg, no points.
Right.
Like he's
He's got 3.
got
points.
3 points.
1
But
goal.
No goals.
1 goal.
5 points.
Into an empty net.
No goals for me is it's like the general statement about they're not contributing any goals.
Yeah.
So the bottom half, I know Jonas Siegel had a stat in his article that the top 6 forwards on the Leafs, which, the core 4 plus Nyes and McMahon, have 80% of their goals this year. They're 4th last in goals by D. Like they're just not getting anything outside of the guys who always score. We did so much work on them not being Team A, Team B. They're Team A, Team B again.
In about half an hour, we're going to welcome in head coach of the New Jersey Devils, Sheldon Keefe. This will be interesting.
I think we could probably ask him about this. He's got some experience with it.
A little bit,
Yeah.
for sure. So you're going to want to stick around for that. As far as our Kippers Clipper, let's start with Craig Berube on his overview Friday night.
Saturday night.
Saturday
Yeah,
night.
Saturday night. Yeah.
Okay.
Their power play got a couple goals, and then I thought it was a pretty solid game. We worked, we competed, took too many penalties, and the 6-on-5. Like at the end of the game, there 6-on-4. We gotta come up with a better play there, and a little more urgency on that play, in my opinion.
I thought it was interesting that he said a little bit more urgency.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I've loved Craig Berube. I've said a million times how much I've loved him on this show at the start of this year. How do you not pull the goalie with an offensive zone draw when it's a power play? You have the offensive zone draw. There's just over 2 minutes left in the game. You're talking about urgency.
Mm-hmm.
That's not pulling the goalie there is the lack of urgency, like the opposite of it. I couldn't believe they didn't pull the goalie right away.
Yeah, curious your thoughts
Yeah.
on that too. So they're up a goal and they're on the power
I'm with
play,
you.
Yeah.
2:14. I was thinking, like, in his mind, it's like, okay, they can shoot for the empty net, so they can just kind of fire.
Want to make sure they win
willy-nilly.
the. But if they want to win the draw, then take him out. It was a full minute after that they didn't take the draw.
No, totally. I totally agree with you. I
Yeah.
was trying to put myself in his shoes and what he might have been thinking, but that did, in an era where everyone's pulling goalies earlier, felt like the right time to make the pull.
I tell you, I buy into the theory that if you're down and you're fighting the clock like that, I would pull the goalie at center ice. I would pull him, with the exception of maybe an offensive zone draw.
You're an
or
early pull
defensive
guy.
zone. I am. I do believe in it.
Yeah.
I do believe in it. Again, we you can see stretches of 5, 7, 10 minutes during any hockey game at any point. Teams aren't even close to getting a shot on goal.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm okay with those percentages, but I want an extra attacker on the ice, even if we lose the draw. Like I cannot wait for puck possession and then have the guys regroup. I want that extra guy on the ice then.
Yep. Extra body to win
body.
the puck
Get in on a forecheck or a 50-50 puck. I got a better chance of outmanning. Even if I lose the draw, I have a better chance with that player on the ice there to get in someone's lane or to hurry someone up, to turn a puck over. To me, I'm not the weight guy.
So, I talked about them being a Team A, Team B. To talk a little Team A for a second, Mitch Marner, just by far their best player right now. You and I talk about that all the time, but to me, just not even particularly close. It's interesting that they got Max Pacioretty as a line mate. You're a big Patches booster. What did you think?
But listen, do I feel like Max Pacioretty, much like Max Domi, can go and fill spots and maybe have a good week?
Mm-hmm.
Do I envision him holding that spot right to first round of the playoffs? No, absolutely not. I think those are short-term solutions, but you didn't, like, nowhere in my world do you invite a guy on a PTO at his age and then find out that he's going to be your number one left winger.
Well, we do this with the Leafs the last however many years. And it's
I
actually
said this on Leafs Talk, but I'm like, God, that gave me Thornton vibes.
Yeah,
Put him up there
You're
because
like, oh, maybe this works. And it's
Thornton.
like,
They
it's
put
not gonna work.
Thornton. They put Thornton with Matthews and Marner multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
For
oh
the
my
record,
God.
I don't
away.
agree with them doing it right now. I don't disagree with it. Like, there's not an obvious other option. Right
Yeah,
now.
We're not starting game one like this.
No, I agree. Like it's a fine move, but that's what the vibe was that I got when I saw it happening.
Totally.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah, he's worked with Willie and JT. You're right. He can plug in there in spots, but
I feel the same way as Matthews and Marner, where you're going into the playoffs, or you just you want a big win. You're going to put Matthews and Marner together, and you're going to put Nyes on the left side. That's the line for me.
Line. It's your best line. Why don't we listen to Berube on why Pacioretty went with Matthews and Marner? Clip for 3.
A little aggressive at times, just hasn't played in a while, wants to be physical, wants to do what he does, and we just went to the box too much in general 5 times. That's good players over there.
That was clip 2, but that was because
That's okay. We'll play the other one, and then we'll come out of it.
Yeah.
I just felt like he was going to be a heavy player for him down low in the offensive zone, and they ended up getting a goal out of it. And, I thought Max did a good job tonight with them guys. Thought, it kind of maybe died off later on in the game. Hasn't played in a while.
I like those reasons. I don't mind those reasons. I just don't see it as a real strong, long-term play. That's
you can
all.
kind of feel Pacioretty recognize that how he's going to get opportunity on this team is by being physical and heavy. And so, maybe a little undisciplined.
yeah, he
He came in and he lassoed somebody for was that the second consecutive penalty that he had?
Yeah, that was a hero call. I'm not going to talk about the officiating over this weekend, but people would like me to. I won't do it, but there's a scrum in front of the net after they're jamming away. The goalie
And
guy
he came
falls
in
down.
and
You
he-
pick him out. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. But he took 2 penalties back to back. He can't do it.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
It's funny watching someone. It's not his element. It's not the way he's played over his whole career. And so maybe he doesn't quite have a sense for where that line is because that's not his natural inclination.
I know we've had long-term conversations, but it's kind of seeping a little bit here. And that is that it's always been a bit of a weakness, that left side.
Years now.
Okay. And
From
it's
the first week of our show you've been talking
really,
about.
in a perfect world, you would have loved that if Matthew Nyes could just hold his own there with Matthews and Marner. And then Bobby McMahon was going to be that guy that could come in, take a next level, maybe put up 25 goals and maybe 25 assists and come in 50-ish, right, alongside a Tavares maybe or Willie. It's just not happening right now. And outside of that, then you've got a major drop-off.
Yeah, if you prorate Bobby McMahon's stats, he in an 82-game season, he'd have 24 goals and 4 assists. That would be his season right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, not exactly how you would have drawn it up.
Yeah.
It is disappointing though that this guy, and I know it's the thing we talk about, he can't stay healthy because I think it's kind of one of the underrated stories from last year's playoffs that they couldn't score, didn't have depth scoring, and he was a guy who scores for them as a depth guy. Again, he's not in the lineup. They're struggling with depth scoring. Like, not going to say they need Bobby McMahon, but he is a difference maker in the bottom of the lineup.
And when he's in, he's fast and he can get to the net and he cuts in off his wing and you're like, okay, I'm noticing him.
Yeah, he can pull the play in that direction. They don't have a ton of guys like that. Now I'm grasping at straws, but I like Lorentz a lot. Maybe he's a guy who could get a little bit more opportunity. I like him every time he's out there. So,
But
looking for something.
You talk about the lack of 5-out-5 scoring, and you talk about, but who's going to come back here? And how it feels like there's a lot of pressure on Domi coming back
well,
here.
McMahon and Domi and Yarncroc. Yarncroc scored 20 last year. Laugh all you like.
But
Is he close?
No, he got
I don't
surgery.
think he's anywhere to be found.
I don't think he's
JB.
a factor.
But he's going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf this year, is he not?
Good question.
Do you think he's just?
He had surgery, so I don't know how long that lasts. Yeah. But I'm not depending on him as a option really. But Domi coming back in here feels like there's a ton of pressure on him. He didn't score once before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. He was in a 13-game or however long point drought when he was gone. So that's one guy. McMahon can't stay healthy. It's the team A, team B situation very much so here. I don't know.
We talked about third line center. They may be looking for more than that. And you've mentioned hopefully big game hunting a little bit. But we do have Berube weighing in on we need some bottom 6. Clip 4, please.
Well, yeah, for sure. We need some guys to contribute down in the bottom 6 for sure. Got to find a way to manufacture some goals from those guys for sure. I agree.
So, is there a fair time to have a Reeves conversation as a guy that's in there every night still? Played both sides of a back-to-back for them. Plays close to 7 minutes a night.
What are you saying? You want him out of the lineup?
I'm saying he could be eligible to come out here and there.
Yeah.
I just don't. You're too hurt. You don't have anyone good to put in who's going to score there.
Steves scores every night in the AHL. You come up, you put him in the fourth line. It's going to look worse.
No, it's probably 1% better offensively. Yeah. No, 10% better offensively. Whatever. I don't disagree with that. If that is the biggest problem, then Reeves not there to do that. But
there's just so many guys in the bottom 6 they're putting over there with no hope of a goal, right? And it's they're the good defensively, but it's there's no. So who's the hope?
Kampf, you're even when he comes back, he's not supposed to score.
And it's
Reeves not supposed to score. Holmberg, same.
None of the guys they throw over, other than the 4 guys, gives you a hope in hell.
To
score.
I'm gonna throw a little emphasis on Craig Berube on this, and I think he's done a heck of a job.
Yep.
And I think we've had more than a sample size to suggest that, at least for the Atlantic Division, I can tell you that the only 2 teams that look like they can win a best-of-7 series is Florida and Toronto. So everybody else I kind of have underneath.
Yep.
So he's done a good job, but I think the onus is now on him is to help coach these guys in the bottom 6 to put a little bit more emphasis on, I don't know if you want to use the word creativity or just overall offense, but I think for the first 25 plus games, they've been programmed a certain way right from training camp to get pucks in deep, keep it simple, and
North-south.
And somewhere there's got to be a little bit of a little bit more of, don't worry about it so much. Try to make a play.
Yeah.
A little bit more emphasis on trying to make a play instead of dumping and chasing and playing that old hard style, which is important, but you got to find a bit of a fine line. And I think the score was 4-2 on the second empty net goal.
It was 3-2, the final score.
5-2. Oh, sorry. Okay.
So I don't know if you remember the play, but Leafs had the puck. I think it was Matthew Nyes has a ton of room to gain the blue line.
And he dumped it?
And he dumps it.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
actually do remember that.
and it's like, this is the part where, Craig Berube and his coaching staff have to say, listen, we have possession of the puck.
Yeah.
We have a 100%.
We want to go north,
possession
but
of the
you can
puck.
still go north if you have it. Like,
So we went from
Until someone stops
100%
you.
having the puck
Yeah.
to a 50-50 chance
yeah.
of getting it back.
Yeah.
And we didn't get it back, and now it's back in our net.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you encourage him to hold on to the puck, gain the zone, look for a man, just take an extra step. And I think all of these guys are just like absolutely almost numb now to making plays.
Well, you get to stay in the lineup if you don't turn it over. Like, there's no onus on these guys to actually produce. It's just don't turn it over, and we'll put you back on the ice. And, yeah, it's funny because the Devils, where Sheldon Keefe, who we're going to talk to today, their offensive stats have gone up quite a bit, and the Leafs have gone down quite a bit. And, obviously, both teams needed that. Like, the Leafs needed to prioritize things differently. But this is the first time in the Matthews-Marner era the team has been under 3 goals per game offensively. It hasn't happened before, and they're down. So, looking for it a bit. Nick Robertson, one of the guys who can't score, and was healthy scratched after playing 10 minutes on Friday night. You think they're just punting on this guy? Have they seen enough?
Well,
We're
Friday.
going to do this again?
Well, there's nothing else to say. But
Friday-
they're scratching him now.
Friday, in a long list of bad ones, was a bad one. Like,
Sure.
it was Friday night. I didn't think Friday night was a particularly good one for anyone. I thought the Washington Capitals looked excellent and shut everybody down. But, yeah, I mean, Robertson was not great in that game.
All right, let's go to Berube while we're on the subject of Nick Robertson.
All right.
Clip 6.
We just got to play better. That's it. I mean, we all know that. I talked to Nick today about it. And we'll figure it out. It's my job to help him and the coaching staff, and it's his job to find a way to play better hockey. He's capable of it. He's got ability, speed. He's got a good shot, and we got to find a way to get him going.
All right. He took a little responsibility on that.
Yeah, just what you're talking about.
It's my job.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's your job. You gotta find a way for not only Nick but a lot of these guys in the bottom 6 to find different ways to get to the net.
Yeah.
So, but let me ask you this. After you've been so hardcore coaching about the defensive side of the puck and north and south and straight lines and hard hockey, like, can you reverse course? Like,
I don't think you need to reverse
well,
it.
not reverse, but like massage the message a little bit?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can.
I love the point you're making about, like, I still want to be a north-south coach. I still want us to go north-south.
Yeah.
But if you can go north with it, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Like, hang on to a little bit extra. One other guy he talked about was Nyes, who, returning from his concussion, not as effective. I've become a little bit worried that Nyes is, he's so good at cleaning up after Matthews and Marner and net front and whatever. I'd still like to see him as a guy try to make some plays. He's a talented guy, and I feel like he's a little stuck in a rut.
Shoot it in the net on Saturday night.
Yeah, the one off the inside of the post.
Shoot it in the net.
That was a tough
Great
roller.
positioning.
Yeah, he's in the
You
right
got
spot.
a lot on the puck.
Bit
It
of a
just
roller.
I hate
didn't
hockey.
get
So
it
frustrating.
didn't get the bounce.
Yep. Yeah, so let's just listen to Berube. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Ken.
was just going to say, just touch it a little bit on Matthew Nyes, and I'm like you and many other people. There's just a lot to love about this guy and the upside. But if someone asked me, are you convinced that this guy can become a top power forward, a guy that can maybe on a good year have 40 goals, 80 points, 90 points? I'd probably say
It's a big ask. 40
I'm
goals,
75% sure that he's got enough talent, but there's sometimes I watch him and there's hockey IQ decisions that don't match up to where I think his ceiling physically could be.
You know, like if he's, I think the question for me is like, is he going to be a 30 goal, 50 point power forward who shoots it in the net sometimes and just kind of gets in the crease? Or is he a guy who can also make plays and, to your point, get to the 80 point, like, you know, get to a point per game type of, I'm not as sure. I thought that was there and I'm not as sure now.
Okay. So we're kind of on the right vibe on that. And maybe it's just more reps. Like, what is he at now? 125 career games. They say defensemen, we need to get them over, 200, 250 before they really start to understand the game? Maybe
you've been no better than me.
Maybe Nyes just is still learning and growing.
His contract's a little cheaper
at
now,
the
at least.
NHL
108 NHL games.
108. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's a year, it's not even a year and a half in the NHL.
No, and he's just 22, right? He turned that month and a bit ago.
So maybe it's just a matter of still getting him more comfortable
Maybe
at the NHL level. He's out of college, guys. He's just, remember, it's out of college. The things that he did or he could get away with, including going through the neutral zone 1,000 miles an hour and you never got run over like he did earlier this year. Those are all kind of learning experiences at the NHL level.
Yeah. So let's listen to Craig Berube's thoughts. Clip 5 on Nyes.
I thought he got better as the game went along, to be honest with you. I think, coming back from his injury, he's been okay, a little tentative, I think. But I thought tonight he kind of broke through that a little bit. Had some opportunities and was physical again, so it was good to see that.
Yeah, it's interesting you use tentative.
Yeah, I see the same stuff. Don't you? Since he came back?
Yeah.
Like he was, early in the year, he was
bullying people,
hammering guys.
Yeah.
And just didn't continue to do that.
Can I add one more name to the tentative?
Matthews.
You couldn't get that out fast enough.
Oh, it's
like
sticking out.
What is going on here?
I don't know. I want to give the benefit of the doubt with the injury and ramping stuff up and that he's not still hurt or he's not, since the start of this season and even in training camp, he hasn't been the same guy, flat out. So I'm not sure.
I feel like he's swooping. Like I just don't see the same stops and starts. It's a lot of.
I don't see any jump with him. And
it's a high bar for him.
I have him at 70, 75% max.
Yeah.
He's out there. I'm watching him out there. It's like he's towing a boat.
I don't see it.
He's moving like my
There-
86 Volvo in high school.
There is no Matthews peak when he's skating out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think he's close to himself. And I mean, you got to think that it's related to a trip overseas.
Ton of hockey this month too. Like it's going to be quite the ask.
His first. I mean, they talked to Berube today, and he talked. We'll go here, but he talked to Berube today. I couldn't use the audio because it sounded like they're in an old timey jail, drips and people banging on stuff. So we didn't play the audio. But he said that he's his first back to back, and he thinks his legs are getting better and all that stuff.
Okay,
but how many games has he played here now? I mean. You'd like to see some vintage Matthews here.
He's seeing what we're seeing.
For sure.
Okay.
How could you not?
Yeah.
And I think
producing for now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But anyways, we should break to go to
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the New Jersey Devils, on deck as his Devils will entertain the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow night, 7 p.m. More with Sheldon after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a few minutes, Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the New Jersey Devils. Have we got him? Is he ready?
Got him.
All right, let's go. Sheldon, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're a little over a quarter of the way here. You've got your Devils team firmly entrenched here for a good run here. How's it been overall for your experience so far? When you can compare it to, obviously, guys like us covering you on a daily basis.
You know what? It's been really good. As I've gone through it all, obviously it's a new experience for me. And I think if I was really to describe it, I'd say there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. In terms of the job, it's at the end of the day, it's hockey and the schedule in the league, all those things are kind of the same. There's a little difference in the media dynamics and stuff they're dealing with on a daily basis, but doesn't take away from the fact that you're coaching a team that's got expectations, and we're trying to create high standards here and looking to live up to them every day.
Sheldon, you've got some big names there on that team, and you had some big names here. And I wonder, it was different when we were in the American Hockey League than the guys you're coaching now. You have egos and big contracts with these players. How do you balance guys going for these personal goals versus trying to get them on the team page? I know you have to keep them happy and give them those opportunities, but how do you get them then to also fall in line with your team plan?
I really think it's just how you go about it, how you talk to the group and how you present it. Obviously a lot of that is very personal to each player and their own personality and priorities and such. But, from my experience, the players want both. They want team success, and then they want to be thriving themselves. They've got personal goals and their own egos and all of these kind of things that come with being great. You don't get to be a premier talent without some level of ego and goals and aspirations and all of these sort of things. But they got to meet. They got to be connected, and at times one has to be checked for the other, and then more often, of course, it's got to be for the team. But it just so happens when you're dealing with your biggest egos and your biggest talents, those players thriving ultimately fuels the team. So I think in so many ways it's aligned, and that's how I approach it.
We know you've been blessed with a couple of superstars in Austin Matthews and you to start your NHL career, and now Jack Hughes. When it comes to deploying them or putting them out there, is there much difference with your philosophy, or is it pretty much when you got a guy like that, you just put him over the boards?
Well, I'm trying to get to know each guy and figure out what it is that, that makes them tick, and how to best utilize their skills and assets. I've also got Nico Hischier here, obviously, who quite often takes a lot of the defensive responsibilities, is a great player offensively in his own right and is having a good season offensively, but just takes so much of a defensive load that it makes it a little bit easier and natural to give someone like Jack a lot of the offensive looks in terms of face-offs and favorable matchups and things like that. So I think partially it's player specific, and partially it's just what do you have in terms of your assets on your team, and how do you utilize your assets best.
The NHL is a tough league to win in, and obviously every night or every game you go into it, you're trying to build a lineup that can win that game. But when you're a team that's near the top of the division, or definitely a playoff team, how often would you experiment and say, maybe this isn't the best thing for us tonight, but I just want to see how this mix of a lineup looks?
Well, I think it depends on where you're at and where you're at with the team. And we're a team where we want to be a playoff team. We got to earn that. We got a lot of hockey left to play here. We put ourselves in a pretty good position here early on, but this is an organization, a team that's made the playoffs twice in the last 12 years. I think in my time in Toronto, we were fortunate to be a playoff team every year. You got the top players there have known nothing but that, and they've got great confidence. They show up in training camp that, as long as they deliver on their end, they're going to be a playoff team. I think you are sort of looking a little bit further down the line. We're trying to build a foundation here. We've got good players. We've got great opportunity to really, build a good team, but we're not getting ahead of ourselves. We got lots of work to do on a daily basis. Now, but with that said, I think as a coach, you're always looking for the best mix you can, and you're always sort of looking down the line and what if, and being prepared, of injuries and things like that might pop up, and try to have guys familiar with one another. But I'm very much still learning about this team and the players themselves. So, I'm just trying to let things breathe a little bit. We haven't changed much from day one of training camp. Some little tweaks here and there, but generally speaking, I've just been kind of putting some pairs together, both on defense and on forward, and kind of playing a little bit with a third guy in each line. But, whether it's 5-on-5 players, special teams, you want to build a solid foundation and build from there. And that's kind of where I'm at here in my first year.
Also in net, a lot of experience with Markstrom and Jake Allen here. And I think the split's been like 20 starts for Markstrom and 10 for Allen. Was that the game plan all along? Do you see this ending up being a 50-30 kind of split, knowing that Markstrom will be hopefully your guy when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, in acquiring Markey, if that certainly fits his vision, is to have him take the bulk of the starts. He's played a lot through his career. Jake Allen, I think, has been a great support for Mark. He's played well for us. We just have to be careful, with both goaltenders' workloads. They're both older guys, and we want to make sure that they're in the best position possible to succeed each day. Jake has, played very well, as I said. I think we got to be very careful with his workload. In fact, it looks like he's going to miss a little bit of time here right now. He got tweaked something yesterday in the game. So just little things like that. You just got to be smart with both guys. But Markey's, played a lot in his career, as I said, and will take the load for us. But we're fortunate to have someone like Jake that's just been so supportive and played well when called on.
Sheldon, I'm wondering if you have a philosophy on the offensive side of the puck. You're a coach who your teams have had great offensive success, and I'll recognize that the Devils' defensive numbers are a lot better too this year. But here in Toronto, the team has, beat the drum about being more of a north-south team and are struggling to produce a little bit offensively. Do you coach the offensive side of things much, or is that something you just say you trust your elite guys to create that?
Well, there has to be a certain level of trust there that those guys, you put them in positions to succeed, and they're going to be able to make plays. But that said, I definitely believe that I coach the offense a lot. I think that's a huge part of the game, not just because of the offense that leads to goals, but I think when you have a good offense, you automatically become better defensively because you just have the puck a lot and you're able to wear down the opposition and things like that. So that to me is how I look at offense. Is it's not just a way to score goals, but it's a way to control play. So we talk about that quite a bit. And then also just in turn, I think the more we have the puck in favorable positions, that our talent's going to be able to come through. So, it's one of those things as a coach, you want to be as good as you can in each area. I mean, we sat down in the off season and looked at it and, started talking about, some things, some goals and things that you want to shoot for. For me, you want to be good at everything. You want to be good at keeping the puck out of your net. You want to be good at putting it in the other team's net. You want to be good on special teams and in goal. And you want, you want to be good on the physical side of things. And that's what I feel good about with where we're at as a team. I think we sit top 10 in goals for, top 10 in goals against, top 10 in special teams. And even on the physical side, it hits, fighting majors, like all these things. Our players have really embraced what we're asking them to do and have been good in each area. So I think that's really what you're shooting for. And then you want to hope that it's all able to thrive when it counts the most in the playoffs. And of course, that's where we've fallen short. And that's why I'm talking to you remotely from New Jersey.
You're watching and listening to Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the New Jersey Devils. So tomorrow night you face a Leaf team that's looking for answers in their bottom six. And overall, how do you feel like your bottom six has performed so far?
I would say, we're in a similar boat. We've had some injuries here with Curtis Lazar and Nate Bastian, two guys that have just had terrific starts to the season for us in terms of just being guys who play hard and simple hockey and can take on some defensive responsibilities and kill penalties and forecheck and do a lot of little things that can kind of set the table for our other lines. We really miss those guys, and we felt that a little bit. But that said, I think we've gotten good performances and big goals at key times from different people. Paul Cotter, for the most part, played on our lower lines and has scored some big goals and made big plays for us. Haller and Mercer, these guys have been really good too at different times. And I think right now we're searching for it a little bit in that bottom mix and are changing things up a little to try to spark some things and get a little bit more balanced approach. But I think that's sort of the reality of the league. There's not many teams that are really rolling, 4 high octane lines. It's you're just trying to manage the game as best you can, get key goals, lowering your lines, and hope that your talent can come through more often than not.
Sheldon, last one from me. Thanks for joining us today. I just when you got there, you obviously knew quite a bit about your roster. Obviously, you've been playing these guys, but was there anyone when you got there you're like, oh, I didn't know that this player, had a certain ability?
I would say, Jesper Bratt, I think is probably the guy that I've been most impressed with, and I don't want to say surprised because when you coach against him, you can see his talent, but it really is exceptional. I mean, and this, of course, some of the obvious guys that we have, I think, but Jesper Bratt is having a great season and has had a number of other good seasons, but his skill level and his speed, his edge work, his ability to escape pressure is truly elite. He's been a good penalty killer for us. And then it's just an impressive guy in terms of how he manages his life and his body and being prepared and consistent every day with his habits. He's a really good example for any player in terms of how he manages himself. I've been really impressed with him in all facets of his game and life.
Few bucks on the board tomorrow night, Sheldon?
You know what? I put more than a few up the first time we played, so this time they're not getting it.
They missed their chance, eh?
Well, we appreciate your time, man, and thanks for doing this for us.
My pleasure. Be well,
Thanks
guys.
a lot. Appreciate it.
He's got a fast team, man. He's had that team's been fast for a while, but they can scoot.
Jesper Bratt, 37 points in 30 games, actually leading the Devils this year. 5'10", 26 years old, just hums out there.
It's funny, hearing Sheldon talk, and I'm not sure if he's still there, and I probably left immediately, but much like some people probably feel with us, that you listen to somebody every single day for 5 years, that you feel this really big sense of familiarity.
Yeah.
And I don't know him at all, but I feel like I know everything about him.
Yeah.
I listen to him. I know that guy so well, and he doesn't know who I am.
So it's like having an ex come on the show.
Really
or something.
is. It really had that feel. All of us are kind of like, what do we say? What do we say?
In itself, let's give the guy credit for even coming on our show.
Absolutely.
If I had to listen to ourselves every day for 3 years, I would have said,
no chance.
Pass. I'm still sick of you guys. Give me a year to not be sick of you guys, and then I'll come on the show.
Yeah.
And I'd go, I get it, Sheldon. I get it. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a year and a half.
I mean, his team having almost 40 points and
Doesn't hurt.
probably makes it a little easier to come back on with the.
I'd say so.
But do you get that? You do know him. So you've worked with
Yeah.
him closely. You know him well. I don't know how Kyper does. I just felt like he came on. I was like,
I worked with him during some rough years. I worked for him when I had to learn IT to become the video coach on the spot mid-season, while also being 18 months prior to my first rehab visit. I was not at my finest version of myself when I worked with
A
him.
challenge.
and he still came on.
Yeah, he's a heck of a guy. I appreciate the patience he had.
Not just Sheldon, though, but anybody that has gone through a significant experience like Sheldon has had, it can't help but make you a better coach if you were paying attention to the things that went well and the things probably like a redo on.
Mm-hmm. It is funny, like the team there is built not too dissimilarly from the Leafs in that your best players are pure skill, not heavy, Bratt and Hughes guys. And then you kind of have, it's very similar build. Dougie Hamilton is probably the biggest difference. You have a pure top end power play 1D man, which I don't think he ever had here.
And
now, by the way, they're first in the NHL in power play.
And he's starting to warm up. He came off a very significant injury.
Yeah. 21 points in 30 games for him, 5 snipes.
Yeah.
Another guy that in years past you would have said was a lock for Team Canada on the back end.
Yeah.
And it's just injuries and everything else. But they actually, everybody talks about Barkov, including Kyper Barkov being the most underrated guy in the league, but he wins Selkies and he's cup winner and everybody talks about how great he is. They actually have 2 of the guys that are the most underrated. Bratt and Heischer, to me, are 2 of the most underrated guys in the league. Heischer is one of the best two-way centers in the league, almost 30 points in 30 games this year, 15 goals. I really like watching him play. Yeah. And he was first overall, right? And second was Nolan Patrick, right?
A good decision.
I'd say.
That worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one I find interesting here, and we all agree he's going to be really good, but how good is the brother, Luke?
Yeah. Really, really good.
Right?
They're all
how
very
quickly,
good.
though, how quickly he gets really, really good might be how quickly the New Jersey Devils go to next level. They could win a Stanley Cup.
They have some exceptional defensive defensemen like Brett Pesce, Jonas Siegenthaler, and Jonathan Kovacevic are all really, really good defenders. Dylan's a big hitter. Hamilton can shoot it in. And then if Hughes becomes a top-end guy, I've heard people say, the Devils are pretty small up front. That's a big decor.
Was Kovacevic, he was a HAB, right?
He was, and he's very good.
And they just let
the
him,
top pairs for like defensive stuff, he's involved.
They just let him.
I guess they kept all the.
Anyways, I've been saying this since the summer and since Sheldon got hired there, but I got to tell you, Leafs Devils playoff matchup at some point feels really inevitable to me.
Does it? Yeah.
I don't know how it would stack up. I guess if they win that division, it would be a conference final. Leafs are a wild card. They're the best team. I don't know what the thing is, but the way things go in this city, I really do feel a matchup between those 2.
Really fun.
Sheldon Keefe's big breakthrough comes against the Leafs at your expense.
Does that sound impossible?
No.
Does that sound extremely possible? Because I said that day one when he got hired there. It just feels like that would be feels like it'd be a good playoff series too. But go back to my youth, Devils and Leafs.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Palat, Meyer, they got a good hockey club.
Yeah. Palat, I'm curious how that's going. His numbers aren't sterling or anything, but they do. That Paul Cotter's
there's
having a great
something to be
year
said about a guy like that with his
in a playoff series.
Stanley Cup pedigree in Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Coming into the room every day. It matters to some of those kids, right?
Yeah. And they have him as like a pure conscience on a line with Hughes and Bratt right now.
Yeah, Palat
By the way, we haven't mentioned Timo Myers on that team. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, who I wanted to trade Matthew Nyes for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you do it today? Maybe.
I mean, the revisionist history of it isn't as bad as I thought it was at one point this year, but yeah, there you go. Anyways, McCabe, by the way, skating again today.
He's fine.
I texted Luke Fox.
He's fine?
Yeah, he's fine. I'm telling you, he's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying, the second he missed a game or a practice, I was like, this is bad.
Here's what
bad.
Luke Fox had to say. I texted him. He said, McCabe practiced in full on 4th pair with Rafai, told doubtful for tomorrow. Not completely ruled out, though.
Yeah,
there you go.
He's fine.
Okay.
He's fine.
Okay.
And we're fine.
We are fine.
Take a deep breath because we're just getting started.
Talk some trades.
We go national next. Garry Galley will join us. Lots of talk from Florida. They got the Board of Governors, including tampering. I've never heard this expression in my life. Soft tampering.
But I think that's a thing where you're not tampering, but you're kind of tampering.
How soft?
Tampering. You can't be kind of pregnant here, boys.
How soft? We'll find out when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. We're back in our national hour. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We're live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. We'll track down Garry Galley, former NHLer, color analyst with Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada. Busy weekend. Sammy didn't get his baseball start at the Blue Jays.
I never thought it was happening. I actually sent a tweet. I'm like, thank God that's over. So now that they can focus on people they actually have a chance with. Oh, yeah. Mike.
They apparently offered $760 million.
Good offer.
Great offer.
Not a bad offer.
I would take that.
Yeah, I think
for
so.
sure.
Which would be
gotta get
the
your-
equivalent, I believe, maybe 1.1 billion Canadian,
Oh, okay.
right?
That's cool.
So if the Jays continue
baseball.
to sell on Tuesdays
Looney Dogs?
hot dogs for $1,
They just went up to $32.50.
yeah,
I
they'd
saw
have to change that.
Yeah.
I saw our former colleague Alex Wong. He put out a tweet, said that he saw the Rays offered him $765 million over 765 years.
Yeah. Let's see if we can drag this out a little bit.
That's very good.
Well, anyway.
Anyways,
We want to get a thought on the Board of Governor meetings. They're going on down there. I'm really not sure if there's anything significant that's going to come out of this.
it's just so the boys
but-
get to go have a backdrop with the beach.
That's
and
great.
You used to do this, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And then it's nice, but you can't do anything. It's
Why?
not because you just sit around and you wait.
Yeah.
For what?
Can't show
Any
up
news
6
at
Coronas
all,
deep
and
on
then-
the broadcast.
And then between Elliott and Drager and Chris John, they all like race to get whatever they can out first.
Mm.
And it's like, I'll be over here having lunch, boys.
Or
No, there's no four. There's no golf.
No
There's
golf?
no golf.
Okay.
No. They actually do meet for, 8 hours a day and really talk about nothing. But I'm sure expansion might be involved in some of the side talks if they're not officially on the agenda. The other one is, I think, TV money is going to be a hot topic now with contracts running out in a couple of years, including ours.
so, what do you make of this Andlauer thing?
So, just to give it some background here,
Yeah.
Michael Andlauer, I think, met with some in the media. Elliot Friedman has a report on Sportsnet.ca where the the Rangers, I think, were backhandedly accused of soft tampering. Is that the way we
Soft
got it,
Tampering.
Sammy?
Not
Yeah.
a hard tamper.
This is a quote from Andlauer saying that, this is about protecting our fans and players and families. Brady and his wife, Emma, just had a baby. They don't need that in their lives. I'm trying to read down some more quotes, but he'll have more. I just, names show up in trade rumors a lot,
So this stems from
don't they?
a New York Post report saying that the Rangers have made calls or had interest. Can you just, so I'm accurate on, they said there's more to this story
A
that
whopper. That's what I remember.
that the Rangers would be in on Brady Tkachuk.
yeah.
And that's the gist of it. And they obviously, Senators owner Michael Andlauer did not like that one bit.
No, and to Ottawa, their defense, everything that they have said is like, absolutely not. We have him under contract this year and 3 more years after this. We want him. He's our captain.
From December 6th, Larry Brooks sent out a tweet with an article after the Trouba thing saying there's more to come. Blue shirts targeting Brady Tkachuk in trade talks. What would be a whopper? It would be a whopper.
It would because, I love that Andlauer is basically getting out ahead of this and saying, this is ridiculous and we want nothing to do with this and we don't like what's happened here. I think that's good to stand up for the team. But this is what happens when you finally have expectations and you lose. People start to go, is there discontent? Who's going to move on? Who's going to fix this? How do we do it?
I also think it's hilarious that the second the tampering word came out, there was like 6 reports of being like, they've never had internal or external conversations about Brady Tkachuk, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I wonder who's sending those out.
Yeah.
Wonder who's trying to get ahead of that one.
We gotta get-
Trish like, I got to get on the phone.
Yeah.
All right, as promised, let's welcome in Garry Galley, former NHLer, and he's one that covers the Ottawa Senators on a fairly regular basis. So why not pick up the conversation where we just dropped it off before getting to you. Gals, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Number one, I'm not sure how much you've caught of our conversation, but I think it was enough to get your opinion on the rumors, trade talk, all of this been around for countless decades here. Is it any different today than when we played, gals?
You know what? All the players know more than we knew back in the day. Like, we didn't know draft lists. We didn't know, so many different things we didn't know. We were oblivious to. We were playing. We had a direction we were playing in, but we didn't really have, insight into those things. Now, young players can go on the internet. They can look up draft lists. They can look up all kinds of stuff. And one thing that you pick up are a lot of these trades that people kind of throw out there and they see if they stick. And sometimes they have merit. Sometimes they don't have any merit whatsoever. But it seems like we're in an age where it doesn't really matter. There's so much going on, so much content going on that sometimes it's irresponsible, but people throw it out there and now everyone has to talk about it and discuss it. And even when it makes no sense. And that's the thing that happens a lot now.
So what does that Senators team need to kind of fix what ails them here? I was talking to a friend before the show and just saying that it feels like their core is maybe they don't have quite the elite guys of the McDavids and, the McKinnon, whatever. Like, they need a good supporting cast. How do you see the Senators taking a step from being good to a legitimate playoff team?
I think one thing you look at right off the hop is, there are times when you have to win games. Winning that game is important. The Islander game was important. This is an Islander team that was severely banged up, missing a lot of key players. You keep them down to 13 shots. You do a lot of really good things, but you lose the game. And it's like, it doesn't matter whether you blame the goaltending. It doesn't matter whether you blame a mistake, critical mistake here and there. You just can't keep affording to lose these type of games that you have to win in the position that you're in. And that's the frustrating thing that takes you right back to the beginning where you go, are these guys ready? Are they ready to totally buy in and make the changes they need to make in order to get going and start winning? Now, you're right. They don't have an Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid or a McKinnon, but they have a good number of capable players that are very talented that I think can do a lot of damage. They picked up a very good goaltender in Ullmark. Their defense, I still think, needs some work. And it seems like, I don't know what you guys, but it seems like every time they trade someone away, that person goes somewhere else and plays well. It's like, and you look at Chychrun, how he's playing, leading all defensemen in goals and stuff. And then you look at Talbot and you look at guys, certain players that come through, you look at it and you go, okay, it didn't work out in Ottawa, but they're doing really well in other places. So, they're trying to change the culture in Ottawa. They're trying to make these changes. The players are certainly want to buy in, but to me, not knowing how to win is a key ingredient to continue to have losing. You have to learn how to win, understand how to win, and be comfortable in your skin in close hockey games, and knowing that you're playing the same way all the time and you're going to win more than you're going to lose. And I think that right now there's an uncomfortableness when the games are tight and things like that. And then all of a sudden, the bottom falls out of it and you lose a game that you should win. And those losses are happening too often. And they need to be above 500. They need to be hitting the halfway mark of this season above 500 if they're going to have any shot at it at all. If they continue to fall below 500 constantly, then they will not have an opportunity to get into the playoffs.
So, Gals, how far is Tim Stützle away from being one of those guys that can carry the mail, no different than maybe a Hughes in Jersey or Matthews, like McDavid?
I think this is a very, very good player. I mean, this is a highly elite skilled player. He's got great hockey IQ. I think this is a player that I don't know if he's ever going to be McDavid or McKinnon or anything like that. I don't see that coming. Can he be a real solid player, a real good player for you, a consistent player for you? I think that's what has to happen. Timmy Stützle has all the skill sets in the world, and I think he's going to be a Senator for a long time, but he does need to put together that 200-foot game, and he does need to understand the times in the game when it doesn't call for the toe drag or the try to beat a guy or throw a blind puck. He's got to understand those little nuances to the game that tells him to shut things down at a certain time, the score of the game, the time of the game, whether you're a lead or you're behind. All those things come into a factor in how you play the game. But I definitely think he's going to be a more than capable player. I think he could fall into the Nick Suzuki kind of range, where a guy that can come out nightly and do damage, but not hurt you. That's the thing. You can't have players who put up good production numbers but they hurt you in key times of a game. And I think Timmy Stützle is a smart guy. I think he wants to be that player, and he's striving to be that player. They just need him to get there a lot quicker. But you see some of the dynamite things that he does. I mean, last night on the Gaudette goal, I mean, jamming the brakes on, turning up, waiting for the late guy. I mean, they don't score that goal if he doesn't do all those things. So he does a lot of real wonderful things. But because the way the team is built, he needs to be a much better sound 200-foot player. And that means he may have to give up a little bit of his offense in order to accomplish that. But they have enough guys around him that could create offense. They should be okay in doing that, and then maybe being a better team all around.
Gals, as we like to do with you, try to go around Canada a little bit. Team that's kind of top of mind for me is the Winnipeg Jets, 4-6 in their last 10 after a red-hot start. Their record right now kind of reflects maybe the team we thought they were. What do you make of the roller coaster season here as they're kind of a little bit on the down end of things?
Yeah, I think, I think what's happening to Winnipeg is what everybody thought was going to happen to the Capitals.
Yeah.
Everyone's been waiting for that shoe to drop in Washington. Everyone's been waiting for, when are they going to wake up and realize that the Washington Capitals? But people are starting to figure out that, this is a good team in Hershey for a number of years now. They're building it the right way. They've added the right players. The mix and the chemistry has been good. For the Winnipeg Jets, this is a team that I thought got out of the gate, and the way they were playing was actually very surprising to me. Not that I didn't think this team couldn't make the playoffs. I thought they would. This is a very good team with a top-notch goaltender and a good coach in Scott O'Neill and a good captain, good leadership. So I figured this team would make the playoffs. But to be on the run they were to start the season and, to break the record and with wins to start a season and to put themselves in that position, I got to tell you, I was a bit surprised by that. But we fast forward to the end of the season and how will they do in the playoffs? But they're having a bit of a kick in the pants now, and they're starting to, the glass slipper kind of has a few cracks here and there, but that's a good thing. To me, it's a good thing. Now you've got to dig down and you've got to find a way to fix these things and get back to the way you were. And you're facing some adversity. All good teams need to face adversity during the course of a season. You need to figure out how to get out of it, because in the playoffs, you will face adversity within a 60-minute game. You will face adversity within a series. You have to learn how to do that. So for them, they need to dust themselves off and get back to the way they were playing. And that's a big challenge for them. And they haven't looked like the same team, but at the same time, you're never too far away from where you were. You have to be confident that it's just a few little things that you got to get back doing consistently right. And then everything starts to fall back into place. But, I think at the end of the day, the Winnipeg Jets will be fine.
You're watching and listening to Garry Galley, former NHLer, Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada analyst. If I was to tell you if one team in Canada needed a trade, would we point to the Vancouver Canucks with the loss of Hronek for 8 weeks above any other team?
Yeah, I would say that the Vancouver Canucks, certainly a trade could possibly be helpful for them, and trading the right guy. Like, which one do you move? And what do you get back for that player that helps you to fill the spots that you need to build depth within your lineup? Certainly, it seems like right from the get-go, Vancouver has been kind of on uneven ground. They've never really found even ground. I mean, I think they've gotten some really good goaltending that was unexpected, which was really good. And that maybe, hides a few imperfections here and there. But I do believe that there is probably something coming. I do feel like there will be something coming there, most likely. It's just a matter of you've got to make sure you pick the right guy that's going and make the right deal to give you what you need. And sometimes the trade that you don't make sometimes ends up being the best trade. So they may just sit tight and hold tight, but they definitely don't look like the team that I think that I was expecting to see this year. And that's, it's been really hard to figure out. It's been a lot of little different things, but hopefully in the next little bit, they can try to find some consistency and get a bit healthier. The health is a big part of it, but at the end of the day, they still don't look like the same team.
It's crazy when, with all the injuries, like they have a lot of elite talent on that team that has not been involved in games. So it still feels like maybe they're one of the Canadian teams that, even though they're not top of their division, feels like they have more to give. Do you think Demko coming back? I know Lankinen's been great, but is that enough for them to get over the top, or they kind of need all these guys back healthy with Hronek and Miller and Besser's back?
Well, you don't get that opportunity. You don't get to say, well, we're going to get all our guys back. They come back when they come back.
Yeah.
You have to buy in and be ready to go. And guys have to say, this is an opportunity for me to step up, and the door opens for me, jam my foot in it and keep it open and show them what I can do. There's a lot of guys that, whether it's increased ice time, whether it's someone coming up from the minors, there's always opportunity. The NHL is a game of opportunity, and when you get your chance, you have to be ready to take it. So I think always looking, oh my God, we're injured, or this guy's not back, or when is he going to be back? The good teams don't do that. The good teams, next man up, let's go. And when they get back, we'll insert them in our lineup, and we'll just keep hitting the ground running. And certainly when you get a player back like Demko, a real high end player, it can do a lot for adding a bit of juice to the bench and the locker room and getting everyone excited that some of the injuries are starting to get back in the lineup. But you can't just go, okay, he's back and we can rely on him. I think they've relied a little too much on their goaltending already, but he's been really good, which is great. But when your star players and your good players are performing, underperforming, there's an underlying problem there with that the players that can't find consistency in their games, the great players of our game, the great players on teams, the top half of the lineup, or even the top third of the lineup, these guys don't play poorly for long periods of time. Normally they figure it out quickly. They get back at it. They get back to their game. I don't mean they're going to be as productive. Maybe sometimes guys go in slumps, but they're going to play the way that you expect them to play and get chances and create chances. And some nights I just don't see it there, and it gets a little frustrating, I think, to watch. But we're still not early in the season, but we still got a lot of runway left here. So we've seen teams that have struggled like that, and then all of a sudden they pick it up in the second half and they get going, and all the pieces fall into place. And then they become a very dangerous team to hit in the first round kind of thing, right? And that could be a team like Vancouver.
Team you've also covered is Montreal Canadiens. They take on the Ducks tonight at the Bell Center. And speaking of underperforming on a few guys in the lineup, Montreal, to me, is a team that actually could use a trade that could maybe bring in some reinforcements that can help some of the younger kids, Gal, stay competitive. And I mean, it's some nights it's got to be really hard to be a Montreal Canadian fan still.
I think that the Montreal Canadian fan, Kyper, is I think the management's been very honest with the fans in Montreal, and that they're not going to deviate from their plan, even though they think that they should go out and deviate, and they're not going to do it. They feel comfortable with their plan, and in the future, we're going to see if they're right. I did the game the other night, and I thought to myself, against Washington, who was 8-0 on the road, they had everything going for them. Montreal played them really well. I thought Montreal deserved better out of that game. 4 breakaways in the third period. They don't score on any of them. I mean, so it's kind of like Chicago. Mm-hmm. You're defensively better. You lose the most one-goal games of any team. You got a power play in the top 10. You got a penalty kill in the top 10. But you can't score. And if you can't score, all these games are one-goal games. They're tight games. And at the end of the day, you don't win them because the other team's got a little more in that area, and they find a way to bury it. Tom Wilson buried the Montreal Canadiens the other night. And it's because Armia couldn't score on a breakaway. Evans couldn't score on a breakaway. Suzuki couldn't score on a breakaway. This was if they would have scored on a couple of those in the third period, it was game over. For Washington, it was done, but they didn't. Washington scores. They get some life. And this is kind of what happens to a team that just doesn't have enough firepower. They don't have enough firepower to put a game out of reach on a team, to come back in a game. And so they play hard. They're playing hard. They're trying to do what the coach is telling them. But at the end of the day, they get into these close games and they just can't find ways to win them. And again, when I look at the Blackhawks, and I know they made a coaching change there, but, your coaching staff, and I don't mean just the head coach, I mean your staff, that does a great job with your specialty teams, does a great job in lowering the goals against. You're getting good goaltending. What's the problem? You can't score.
Yeah.
And who's responsible for creating scoring? I mean, you got to add players to your lineup that are capable of scoring, that can go out and score goals. and they don't do that. And then eventually this coaching staff takes the brunt of that. That was a real tough one to kind of follow. I get Bedard's not playing well, and it's frustration there, and they feel like they're not seeing enough movement there. But at the end of the day, when you look at some of the things that did improve, really it stuck out like a sore thumb. Their goal scoring is a problem, and that comes reflective of who you pick up in the offseason, who you add to your lineup to play with your good players to create offense. I didn't think that was the staff. And in Montreal, it's hard to blame them. I mean, Marty can't jump on the ice and go out and score goals. I mean, he's got to have his team play the right way and hope that they can score enough and that their goaltending can keep enough out to win games. And it's hard to play that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when you have scoring, I think, as a fan or even as a team, you take it for granted that that's something you can do. We talk about the Edmonton Oilers all the time. They are Canada's best hope, I would say, before the season. They were the favorites around the NHL to win the Cup. They keep scoring at the rate they have all along. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Finally, Stu Skinner is going. He's 5 of the last 6 games. He's been a .930 save percentage or better. And all of a sudden, the Oilers are winning enough. And so are you a believer in Skinner, that Skinner is a guy they can go forward with and hold that status as, the best chance for a Canadian Cup?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm probably, I think this is kind of one of those 50-50 categories, I think. But I think so. I mean, he went to the finals last year, a game away. I mean, I think there's that's experience you can't teach somebody that you bring in that maybe doesn't have that. And Stanley Cup champion goalies aren't growing on trees out there to grab and throw in your net. I think they've been really patient at times. I think this is a team. If you're a goaltender on the Edmonton Oilers, I think, even back in the day when you look at, Fuhr and Moog and those guys, I mean, they've always been an offensive juggernaut in the sense where their goaltender has to handle a few more high danger chances. He has to handle a few more breakdowns because these guys are skiing downhill, man. They're out there and they're taking opportunities and chances. And in a day now where you have some offensive defensemen that join the rush, you create probably some havoc going back the other way. I think defensive zone coverages aren't always pretty in Edmonton. I think they're getting better, but I do think that relies on a lot like a guy like Skinner to make the difference there and hide some of those imperfections. But at the end of the day, I would stick with him. I think it's too hard to bring. I mean, something really great has to jump out at you in order to take that opportunity. Because if you make that choice and you go somewhere else and it doesn't work out, you may lose your guys big time. So these guys are starting to become a tight-knit group of guys that care a lot about one another. And I think you got to be careful with that.
Gals, one more for me, and that's just a thought on coaching change. We saw one in Boston, and they've pulled off 4 in a row since then. And sometimes you make a change for the sake of making a change, hearing a different voice. Is that just enough now for the Boston Bruins?
It's crazy because a lot of people have said to me, like, how does Boston get away with this? How do they fire Bruce Cassidy and Claude Julien for that matter? Go back another step even further. And then how do you fire Bruce Cassidy? He goes on to win a Stanley Cup in Vegas. And then you bring in a guy and all he does is win, 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 win. And then the first sign of a little stumble and you pull a trigger on him, right? So all these things are true. All these things are true. But unless you're in the inner sanctum of an organization that will remain very tight to the vest, and they make their decisions and they don't ask for anybody's advice. They just make their decisions. They live and die by it. That's the Boston Bruins. And if they don't like something or they feel like their guys are losing their guys or whatever, they're going to make those changes. They don't care what it looks like or who says what or who cares about what. And this is how they go about their business. So if there's something out there that can help them get better and help them win, they're going to do it. And that's the thing that's kept them successful over all these years and has kept them competitive. I mean, they've got a number of really good players there. Certainly, I think they've gone through a bit of a dip where some guys have looked to run out of a little bit of gas, and maybe guys who can't match the year they had last year, but aren't getting to a position where they're helping enough this year. So again, as I said about Vancouver, are they going to get to the midway point and have figured it all out? And then all of a sudden, guys that have been kind of not producing like they were last year are going to start coming on. Have they held the fort long enough to be able to stay close enough to get into the playoffs and be a dangerous team to play against? Swayman hasn't played Swayman-like. I think McAvoy has to be better. I think the game against Montreal, he looked like the McAvoy that I expect to see more often than not. A guy who plays with a bee in his bonnet, a guy who will join the rush and be active and just be hard to play against. That's when I really think he's at his best. And I find it's not enough. And I think the one thing, if he can find that and be consistent more, that's going to be a big plus for them too. Getting Lindholm back and healthy and playing, and can Zadorov find some consistency and be that big body back there that's consistent. There's a lot of things that have to kind of turn around, but I think it's more than possible. And if there's a trade out there that Don Sweeney sees that's going to help his club, he's going to make it.
So far, so good for Joe Sacco and the Boston Bruins. Gals, thanks for doing this, buddy. Really appreciate your time as always. Great insight. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. If I don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Gals. Thanks a lot.
You as well. Garry Galley, Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet.
What's up? Okay. Sam's mic's not working.
Oh, they're
we'll ignore him.
getting close to Christmas.
Yeah.
Do the Bruins scare you, Sammy?
Oh, yeah.
Always, eh?
Yeah. Yes.
I love it
Yes,
when you
Your
just
Honor.
kind of
listen,
melt.
Listen, I wrote them off. They're now good again.
They've won a ton of one-goal games.
Yeah, but guess what? There's one word you said in that sentence. That's an important one.
One.
They won.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
They're still,
coach bombs. They're going to trade for whoever
well,
and be good.
They're still weak in the middle for me.
Yeah. Nazem Kadri,
they have
welcome to the
needs.
Boston Bruins.
But I think the point Sam's making is like they're winning enough to keep their head afloat that if they make a couple changes they have enough other players that like they could turn this into a thing again.
And then the Leafs will play them in the 2-3 and lose in 7 games in overtime.
So you have them losing to both the Devils and the Bruins this year.
They got to go through Canada now.
I mean, I don't have a lot of wins to look back on here.
We'll know
How
a
much
lot.
to build on.
We'll know a lot more about the Boston Bruins because they've got their Western road swing here: Winnipeg, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton.
Funny that teams do Winnipeg, Seattle on the swing. That's common. That's the way they build that in there.
I had no it there anyway.
You just pop off in Winnipeg on your way
Winnipeg's
to
not that
Seattle.
far from Seattle, is it?
All right.
Yeah.
It's a tough trip.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Sammy, what do you have for us?
Got some game time for you. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Only 3 games tonight. As I pull up my app here, the Detroit Red Wings are in Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Sabres. They are plus 105 underdogs in that game against the Buffalo Sabres. That is a game that you would want to be better than it is, but it's just not really that great. You had Kevin Adams talking about how they don't have palm trees and
What did you think of that, Kip?
I'm not a believer of going out there and stating what you don't have.
They had a press conference to say, like, yeah, we're pretty undesirable.
Focus on why you want players to come and play on your hockey
Josh
club.
Allen isn't a great reason. He's like, but they have Josh Allen.
Listen,
Everyone wants to come.
If somebody's a football, if someone
It's
loves
something.
the NFL and loves going to NFL games, that's a reason to play for the Buffalo
I
Sabres.
saw
Come and
someone
watch
else
Josh
tweet,
Allen.
You know who else has high taxes and cold weather and all that? Like Boston.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
it's like you
whatever
still
it
get
takes.
Players.
Focus on the things that you have, not on what you don't have. That's in life too.
Lower real
everybody.
estate prices and some great chicken wings.
Yeah. So, and there's a original 6 tonight at Madison Square Garden. The Blackhawks visiting the Rangers. Rangers coming off a pretty putrid loss to the Seattle Kraken on home ice at 1 p.m. on a Sunday. They are minus 260 favorites. And the last game tonight is the Anaheim Ducks visiting the Montreal Canadiens. Anaheim Ducks are plus 125 in that game. Give me the Ducks all day. Quack, quack, quack.
Ducks are on Amazon tonight. They're on Wednesday Night Hockey. And then Kip and I got them for the regional game
Holy
Thursday. It's Ducks week.
Canada is
Seagrass is hurt.
quack, quack, quack.
No.
Do you know what movie that's from, Kipper?
Are they? Yes, of course.
Which one?
The
Miracle.
Mighties.
Okay. The Mighties. I don't think that's what it's called. Let me wrap this up and then you
Is
get
that a Marvel movie too?
That was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordered at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. You're gonna say
what are the
something?
Rangers? Are they? Yeah, they just. What are they going to do? Are they done?
I'll go back to a conversation we had before. You've freed up money now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? They are still a good hockey club.
Yeah. I think
There's no way that they should bail on anything. They should just find a way to reallocate $8 million wherever you want to put it and roll the dice. The question is where is that mentality of that room right now?
Well, it has to be still winning, no? Like, this is not.
They're 3-7-0 in their last 10, and that stretch of hockey has put them into an absolute dogfight for that last spot in the.
It's the psyche of the room. They cannot come to work every day on eggshells going, am I next? Am I next?
How do you
Chris
fix
Kreider,
that?
am I next?
How do you fix that? Fire
Chris
the
Drury
GM?
has to fix it. Yes, it's his job
Yeah.
to fix it. So I don't know. Go in there and buy him a pizza. I don't know. Sit around. Talk.
Good pies around there.
I don't know, but it's his job to say, hey, guys, we did this because it was the best decision that we needed to make. I'm going to take the money. I'm going to find a different way to allocate it. We're a good team. We aren't trading you all. I don't know if you can say that or not. You want to say that, but you have to have them reassured that the vision that they had in training camp is still there today.
Unless you believe that they're too fat and happy and they need to be on eggshells. They're too comfortable.
Then you got to start moving other guys, and no one's coming to work to win.
I don't think
Everybody's coming to survive.
Yeah, I don't think
Big
anyone
difference.
came back from the Trouba trade and then blew a lead to Seattle in Madison Square Garden, and
To your point, if you really believe that you're all too fat and I don't like you, then blow it up now. Tell people. Write them another letter like you did, 7 years ago?
It's Christmas season.
To all your
write one to
fan
Santa
base
and one to your fans.
We are going to do this, and you have to be patient with us, but we'll get you back there again.
Ooh. Yeah.
Or you go in there and you say, guys, let's still win here.
It's wild, though, to see a front office just publicly state they don't believe in their mix when the team was pretty good. I can't recall a team that was, they did this at 12-6-1 or something. They were like, yeah.
It hasn't really worked.
No. In which then it falls on the management. That was a big swing. And
Yep. Okay.
Trouba's going to wear number 65 for the Ducks.
Oh, because he wants to play like Carlson?
he said
Is that
it's
not Carlson's number?
Yes, it is. He said it's his parents' birth year.
Oh, that's nice.
Stop it.
That's nice.
No, that's true.
65?
Yeah.
I'm born 66.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
old enough
would
to
you
be
wear
his dad.
Would you wear number
I
66?
don't want to be his dad. I don't want to be old enough to be his dad.
All right, hit the
probably
break there,
threw you some
Papa.
bucks.
It's time
Now
to
you've depressed me. I'm old.
All
hit the
right.
break, Grandpa.
Okay, we'll hit the breaks, and when we return, an NHL trade to talk. The Georgiev era is over in Colorado.
Yes.
We'll get to that and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne. A reminder, this hour, Real Kipper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Just in terms of now, John Tortorella on his latest little outcry about officiating.
Oh, he sounds like me.
Well,
He had a real issue with some trips against the Boston Bruins on the weekend.
yeah.
You want to have a quick listen?
Let's listen.
I think we get to watch too, maybe.
Oh, fun.
Maybe.
Yeah, let me start.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. One thing I teach my team to do is not dive. Maybe I should start teaching them that. The way this has gone here, the way it goes on, maybe I should start teaching them how to dive. It's one of the things we talk about most as a team. We're going to play an honest game. There's no cheating. There's no embarrassing referees. You don't embarrass the referees. And the that went on here tonight is just ridiculous. So I'm proud of the way our team played. Did we piss another one away? Yeah. But other people had a little bit to do with that also.
I got to think, if you're covering John Tortorella on a daily basis, there is no post, pre, or post interview that he does that you do not want to miss.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be there that day when you get sound like that.
Yeah.
That's the day.
You just never know.
You
Yeah,
just
'cause
never
some
know.
days he's the worst. Some days he's the biggest grump and says, "See ya."
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's just gold for people to
Yeah.
cover it on a daily basis.
Well, that's what
That was good. I didn't mind that at all.
to distract from the loss, or is that authentic frustration?
good game Saturday
it's,
afternoon.
It's authentic frustration for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thought Mitch Cove was flopping around a little bit in that game.
yeah,
I don't even know what the phrase. One thing I teach them not to dive. What does that mean?
First of all,
How do you
like
show
the
someone that?
art of diving has been around since the game started.
Yes.
We'll always have that guy in any year, any era.
Yeah.
Some are able to mask it better than others.
Who's the best diver of all time?
Bill Barber.
Bill Barber.
Oh, geez, really?
Bill Barber, mid
Because
70s.
he was a tough guy too.
No, not
Okay.
really.
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, he would flop like
Yeah.
no tomorrow.
Kadri's pretty good too.
Who's that?
Kadri.
Yeah, he's legitimately good though. Whereas Bunting's bad.
Yeah.
Kadri's legit.
The one thing when I was watching this game that came to my mind is, where are we on, and it's happening for me, it's happening a little bit more than I usually see, but just stepping on a stick. Where are we on stepping on a stick?
Yeah.
And whether or not my blade of my stick deserves to be there. If it's there before your skate blade, why am I getting a
Who just
tripping
did
call?
that? That was the Leafs game on the weekend, right?
Carlson.
Carlson.
Holmberg stepped on Carlson's stick.
Yeah.
A lot. Do we now have to stop play, have the officials go to the video and see when a guy is tripped or when he steps
'cause
on
I
a
think the
stick?
idea is you can't just have your stick in someone's feet if you're at risk of
Why
tripping
can't I
them.
have it if it's there first? Why can't I have it there?
I just think you have to keep your stick out of someone's feet. Otherwise, you risk tripping them and you risk the call.
Okay.
You can't, Kyper. There's no way you want to insert more gray area
No, I'm
into
just-
the NHL
no,
rules.
no.
If your stick
But
is
like
under a
that
skate and the guy
particular one
falls
was
down,
ridiculous.
But too
where
bad.
It was like,
Too bad.
Well,
the guy's shooting it over the glass. It's ridiculous too. He didn't mean to do it. You still go to the box. You slash it like.
but to Kip's point, if you want to dive, that's a nice one.
It's
Just step on a blade out there.
That's
Woo.
all it takes,
Yeah.
right? If I know there's a stick down there and I'm in the vicinity, I can paint that picture pretty good for you, Sammy.
Oh yeah.
Do you
And
ever
I was
dive?
really good at it too.
You dove a little bit.
Oh,
Listen,
yeah. I wouldn't dive, but I just knew I could
embellish.
sense.
Embellish.
I
is
can
the word.
sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can embellish
Yeah.
really good.
That's fine.
You feel the one hand on your shoulder, pull a little
Someone's got
tug.
their hand off their stick.
I'm gonna spin.
Like Bunting was doing the whole night against the Leafs.
Bunting is over the top though,
Brutal. It's brutal.
and
I would say like soccer itself, where they like embrace the idea that if you can get a call, it's worth a lot. It's not worth as much in hockey, so it's not worth diving as much.
I think it's like I'm a huge soccer fan. I watch EPL every weekend. A big TFC guy.
Oh, it's embarrassment.
But like even me, who's a big fan, I'm like, oh jeez.
Oh, I
like
know.
it's an embarrassment.
Yes.
And Bunting's a soccer player out there. He's flopping around. It's embarrassing.
the other thing too is more cameras, more
That's true too.
HD, more
We
crystal
know who's
clear.
flopping about.
Who's snapping the head back when the stick doesn't come and make contact?
Holmberg did a pretty good one on Saturday night.
I'd be really nervous because
You don't get
it's
that.
really a hot temperature on players that fake being hit or
You want your
hurt.
refs to know.
And that's you can't get over that. Once it's out there, then it's hard to get back any sense of credibility.
Connor Zary scored the other night, and Pospisil took a stick in the chops and went down like he was shot in an old western, like a twist, and it was elaborate.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
So that's where I would have been today.
Yeah.
Going, okay, is this worth it? Is it really? I'm going to take a 2-minute penalty, but am I going to pretend my head snapped back when it really didn't?
We gotta make sure we have time for the trade.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking at. I was trying to look up who drew the most penalties, but then it came up who's taken the most penalties this year. Nikita Zadorov has taken 23 penalties this year.
Minors.
Minors.
Yeah.
23
Kadri's
penalties.
typically been a league leader or around that.
All right, the Colorado Avalanche traded for a goaltender, Mackenzie Blackwood. Pretty good goalie.
Yeah,
Okay.
he can be for sure.
And
He's
he's
a high
not an old
pedigree
guy. He's still coming into his own. He goes to Colorado in exchange for Georgiev and draft picks and a prospect.
Second, yeah. Two fun things. The Avs now have Mileswood, Wedgwood, and Blackwood. So
It's a lot of wood.
Colorado Forest. Other fun fact, Colorado traded Andrei Kovalenko for a number one goalie in 1995 in December. And they traded his son, Nikita Kovalenko, 29 years later in the same month.
That's amazing.
This doesn't cost.
Also for maybe Patrick Waugh.
It was Patrick.
But this one's not.
It's not a big financial commitment. If I'm not mistaken, Mackenzie Blackwood is UFA after this
UFA
season,
after this, yeah.
which means, hey, Mackenzie, come here and lead us to the promised land, and we'll have a nice little 5x5 contract waiting for you.
But 28 years old, you get to go be the guy. Well, him and Wedgwood can share it or whatever, but for the Colorado Avalanche, a very good team.
It's Blackwood.
Blackwood's team.
It's Blackwood's team.
You know, I like to make the joke about driving people to the airport. I bet you McKinnon or Antonin were like, hop on in, Georgiev. We'll take you. Like,
Sorry
no
to hear the news. Don't miss your flight.
So sorry. Come on, hop into the car. We'll take you.
I'm surprised he lasted this long.
It's crazy he did.
But I give the Avs a ton of credit for saying it's only 29 games in or whatever it is, and they got rid of both their goalies from the start of the season.
But it was last year too.
Yeah.
It was
struggled
last
a bit
year,
there too.
Oh yeah. But they've had 5 goaltenders play this year, and Antonin and Georgiev were the two guys that played the most game. 18 for Georgiev, 11 for Antonin. Georgiev's goals against is 338, and his save percentage is 874, and Antonin is 323, 872. How did they win games?
I know. The bottom 5 teams in the league in goals against are like Flyers, Canadiens, Sharks, Penguins. And then right in the middle, they're third worst. Colorado Avalanche have given up 103 goals this season, which, like I said, only 2 teams given up more goals in the whole league.
So Calgary had a bit of a meltdown against Dallas last night, and now the Avs are back in.
Yeah. What's their
the
record
wild
right
card
now?
spot.
What's the Avs record?
They're 16-13.
16-13.
For 32 points. Calgary sits at 31 with a game in hand.
They just get some saves. They've gotten the Tkachuk back. They've got new goaltenders, which, God, if they can, and they got a shutout last night from Wedgwood, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden or night before, whenever it was. So this could be the start of the Avs kind of getting back into the team we thought it was. I saw some people saying,
he's played 3 games for them, and he's a 9.51 save percentage and a 1. You're the goalie now.
Yeah.
You are the guy.
Yeah,
and we'll trade for another guy.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I saw people say steep price to pay. It's a second rounder or something. But I know, not a steep price to pay. You have a team that's trying to contend.
You have 2 of the top 5 players in the world on your team.
Yeah.
Trade a second for a good goalie.
Blackwood's, as we said, 2080. You look at guys who have been massive value around the NHL, and it's Anthony Stolarz. He was 29. They took a chance on him here in Toronto. Lankinen. Kevin Lankinen, Vancouver. Took a chance on him. This is what Blackwood is, a guy who was a second rounder, played for the World Junior Canadian team, had some tough years, but some good years too. If he's hot, this really changes what the Avs are. So I love this for them.
9-10 in 19 games played with that crappy Sharks team. So
yeah, really good.
You guys want to bookend? Because I don't think we had enough time to dissect. We had Garry Galley waiting for us on Andlauer's soft tampering claim.
Yes. I think that soft tampering is a legitimate phrase because there are varying degrees of tampering.
So stupid. It's tampering. If there's word is tampering involved, it's tampering.
Okay, but no.
Yeah.
So
What
Larry Brooks gets information, I assume from a Ranger source,
Nobody
that they've got interest in Tkachuk. He reports
I bet they do.
Yeah, it's
where is the tampering? Where is the tampering?
This is what drives me crazy about it.
This is you again, kind of jumping to conclusions. I'm sorry.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I always jump to conclusions.
Where's the tampering?
Well, the owner of the Avalanche said it, not me. It's like the first time one of their players ends up in it.
Senators, yeah.
Oh, what did I say? Avalanche? Yeah. We're talking about Avalanche. The owner of the Senators says, "Oh, they mentioned my guy in a trade rumor. It's the NHL. The guys get mentioned in trade rumors all the time."
Yes.
But I think
so,
it's
not tamp. Give me a break.
does that start the conversation
okay.
or start his thought process to where
Too bad.
Brady's like, wait, they're interested in me? I'm like, agent to look into that. Are they interested? Is it?
It's just a very insecure move to me from the owner of the
I think
Senators.
it's a protective move, not a sincere one.
I think it's also tied into the fact that he's still pissed off that he gave up a draft pick for a trade that had nothing to do with him
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
prior
Oh, yeah.
with
Still mad about Dadonov,
Sour.
Dadonov, whatever his name is.
Dorian.
Yep.
Right? So that's coming into play.
Great
You're
point.
trying to rebuild and
So
you get
this
tossed a
might be a
first
little
for sure.
bit of him trying to protect. He's trying to protect Tkachuk and his family. I get all of that. That's fine. But, it's also
So does
How much
it's
does
also
Matthew-
a Tkachuk. It's also Matthew.
Yeah.
Moving like that. That family should be well versed and very experienced when it comes to rumors and.
I mean, where's Larry
and talk.
Tenenbaum coming out and saying every time that they're going to talk about trading Marner or Nylander? Like, was that tampering? That's name's been out there 100 times? Like, this is so stupid to me. It's like it's professional sports.
I like the idea that he's
Okay,
standing up for his
yeah.
guys and saying,
But this, I got to tell you, this
firing
sticks
some
out as
warning
like
shots.
it sticks out as new owner syndrome to me so badly. Where it's like, yeah, that's pro sports. Names end up in things all the time. That's just the way things go. Like I don't know why this is tampering. I mean, there's maybe something behind the scenes that he knows.
I
but-
think that's possible.
I just think it's hilarious that he's going out there and saying this. Anyways, maybe I'm wrong, but
You're
it feels
also
weird.
You're also watching the Ottawa Senators and people feeling like they've got to do something too. So they're going to pick their names,
Well,
right? They're going to
that's what
pick.
this is.
That's all. There's. It's almost like a perfect storm. The inconsistency of the Ottawa Senators.
They want to make a
young
big
guys
change.
making a lot of money.
And who are we kidding? You don't think there's been rumors out there before this that Tkachuk's not going to finish his contract there? Like,
That's out there.
That's
It's been
always
out
been
there
out
for a
there.
while that he's sick and tired of losing.
Yeah.
And
his brother demanded a trade out of Canada to the
That's
States.
part of it,
Like,
But you know what it is to me is that people are looking at Ottawa and saying, they're struggling. We know they want to make a change. How can we pick the carcass? And maybe that's the Rangers are doing. But Brady's not the answer. Brady to me is like, if they start having success and they're winning, he'll be in a Canadian market where there's tons of energy and action and he'll be happy. How do you turn this into a winning team?
God, imagine him on the Rangers, though. What a star he'd be there.
I don't know. Well, I mean, sure. Imagine McDavid.
the two cities that have rumors about chemistry issues in the dressing room, though, are Ottawa and Vancouver.
Yeah. I hadn't heard Vancouver.
Probably should have done this before
Well, I guess-
5:53, but
What's that?
probably should have done this before 5:53.
I think people out west probably have heard it.
Yeah.
Well, I know,
already.
I know that like Miller and PD say they're not best friends, and that's
Yeah.
I guess fairly well known.
Yeah. And we'll see how this plays out in Ottawa.
Yeah.
I think Brady at times has shown a level of immaturity through his career in Ottawa. He's starting to
For sure.
settle in a little more and more.
Yeah.
So
For me, it's like they have drafted this core, and can this core take them to the promised land? And you look at guys who were supposed to be part of it that have kind of let them down. Like Shane Pinto's got a goal and 2 assists in 19 games this year. Was he not supposed to be a part of?
Also got to ask, watching that Caps team on Friday, they couldn't use Jacob Chikrin? Jesus.
Ottawa dead last in goals by
He was
defense.
buzzing.
Dead last.
I think he's got more goals than the whole blue line.
I think the Sens have 4 goals from their D.
He's
You know,
got
one
8.
from Sanderson,
He's got-
one
he's
from
got
Scott,
twice
one
as
from-
many.
Hammering it every chance he
Jensen.
gets. Got into it with Matthews. He's a good player, man. Whoopsies.
Anyway,
Anyways,
Sorry, Sens.
our thanks to Garry Galley at the top of the hour and Sheldon Keefe in our Leaf Edition hour. What's our game tonight on Amazon?
oh, Ducks
Montreal.
in Montreal.
And the Anaheim Ducks. Yes.
Gotta get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot.
They can't all be Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay, enjoy the game, and we're back tomorrow on Real Kyper and Bourne. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.